Have you ever reached a moment in life when it suddenly hits you? You can't always rely on family the way you once thought? It's a sobering realization, especially as the years pass. Children grow busy with their own lives, siblings face health battles of their own, and friends may move away or leave us altogether. What once felt like a safety net starts to unravel, leaving many older adults wondering, who can I truly count on now? This thought alone can bring a wave of loneliness or even fear, but here's the truth, it doesn't have to. Aging doesn't mean losing control of your happiness, health, or peace of mind. It means learning to build new forms of strength. Quiet, steady sources of support that remain with you, no matter what changes around you. This video is not about bitterness or regret. It's about wisdom. It's about realizing that while family may not always be there in the ways we hope, there are 5 powerful foundations you can rely on instead. These are the tools that help you age with dignity, resilience, and joy. Today, we'll uncover those 5 things that can truly carry you forward and keep you grounded well into your later years. Physical mobility. There comes a time in life when the simple act of standing up from a chair, reaching into a cabinet, or taking a walk down the block becomes more than just movement. It becomes a declaration of independence. At 70, 80, or even 90, physical mobility is not simply about keeping your body in motion. It is about preserving dignity, control, and the confidence to live life on your own terms. Most people don't realize how much of their daily peace comes from being able to move freely until that freedom is threatened. When your legs feel strong, when your balance feels steady, you can wake up knowing the day belongs to you. You can cook your own breakfast, step outside into the morning air, water your garden, or drive to the grocery store. These may seem like small victories to the young, but to someone who has seen decades pass, they represent the difference between relying on others and being the author of your own life. For many older adults, the fear of becoming dependent is far greater than the fear of wrinkles or gray hair. The thought of waiting for someone else to help you out of bed, to lift you into a chair, or to take you to the bathroom can feel unbearable. It's not just about inconvenience, it's about identity. Losing mobility often makes people feel like they're losing themselves. That's why maintaining physical strength and movement is not just about health. It is about protecting your very sense of self. Let me share a story. I once met Harold, a 78-year-old man living in Florida. Every morning, rain or shine, he walked slow, deliberate laps around his local park with the help of a cane. I asked him once why he was so faithful to this routine. His answer was simple but unforgettable. Because the moment I stop walking is the moment I start waiting for someone to help me. And I don't want to wait. I want to live. Harold wasn't training for a marathon. His knees ached, his steps were slow, but his commitment to keep moving gave him a kind of freedom that nothing else could replace. He still drove himself to the grocery store. He still visited friends on Sundays. He still climbed the 3 steps to his front porch every evening, not because it was easy, but because it was his. That pride, that sense of "this is mine," kept his spirit alive. When you think about it, mobility is the hidden backbone of independence. Without it, you begin to shrink, not just physically but emotionally. Many older adults start to decline, not because their health has failed completely, but because they stop trusting their legs. They second-guess themselves. They avoid outings, turn down invitations, and stop making plans. They retreat, not because they don't want to live, but because they fear falling, stumbling, or becoming a burden. That shrinking of life is not aging, it's surrender. And the truth is, you don't have to surrender. Staying mobile after 70 doesn't mean you need to lift heavy weights or run 10 miles. It means maintaining the strength and balance that allow you to trust your own body. Stretching gently each morning, walking for even 15 minutes a day, or using light resistance bands to keep your muscles engaged can make all the difference. Every step, every stretch, is like putting a deposit into a savings account that pays you back with independence. Many people believe that a decline in mobility is inevitable, but that isn't the whole story. Yes, the body changes with age. Joints stiffen, muscles thin, and balance can waver. But the body is also remarkably adaptive. It responds to what you ask of it. If you sit all day, your body learns to be still. If you move every day, even a little, your body learns to keep moving. Your body listens to your actions more than it listens to your age. That's why one 80-year-old can walk confidently down the street while another feels trapped in their chair. The difference isn't luck. It's a habit. And habits can start today. Maybe you feel stiff when you get out of bed in the morning. That's okay. Instead of judging yourself, try lifting your arms above your head, stretching gently while the coffee brews. If you live in an apartment building, take the stairs down one floor before catching the elevator. If you have a hallway, take an extra lap before sitting down. These may seem like small efforts, but together they build something powerful, a body you can trust. And when you trust your body, you stop fearing the future quite so much. There's also an emotional side to mobility that often gets overlooked. When you can move freely, you carry yourself differently. You feel less like a burden, more like a participant in your own life. That emotional lift can be as important as the physical strength itself. Every time you walk across the room without help, you're telling yourself, I can still do this. I still matter. I'm still me. Think about the first time you drove a car on your own. The sense of freedom, the thrill of independence. That feeling doesn't disappear with age. It simply shifts. At 70 or 80, being able to stand up without assistance or walk to your mailbox can give you the same thrill, the same sense of freedom. These are your victories, and they deserve to be celebrated. Of course, mobility looks different for everyone. Some people rely on canes, walkers, or even wheelchairs, and that's okay. The tool you use doesn't define you. The effort you make does. What matters is refusing to give up, refusing to let stillness become your default state. Even if your steps are slow, they are still steps. Even if you need support, the act of choosing to move is what keeps your independence alive. Lorraine, a 74-year-old widow I once spoke with, told me about her own journey with mobility. After her husband passed, she found herself sitting for long hours, staring at the television, feeling heavy with grief. Her doctor gently warned her that inactivity would make her decline faster than age ever could. So she made a simple choice. She would walk to the end of her street and back every morning. At first, it took all her effort. Her breath was short, her legs shook. But after a few weeks, that walk grew easier. After a few months, she was walking 2 or 3 blocks. Eventually, she started attending a local Tai Chi class at the community center. She told me, "It wasn't about exercise. It was about proving to myself that I still have a reason to get up every morning." Mobility gave her more than strength. It gave her purpose. The science behind this is clear. Regular movement strengthens bones, maintains muscle mass, improves circulation, and sharpens balance. But beyond the science is something more profound. Movement tells your mind that you are still in the game. It fights back against the fear of helplessness that so often haunts older adults. Each step is not just physical. It's psychological armor against despair. And here's something else worth remembering. Mobility doesn't have to be lonely. Joining a walking group, a low-impact yoga class, or even dancing in your living room can connect you with others who share the same goal. Social movement keeps both the body and the spirit alive. You laugh, you talk, you share stories, and you move together. That combination of physical and emotional support is powerful medicine. Yet even in solitude, mobility can be healing. Picture yourself taking a slow stroll in the early morning, the sun rising, the air cool and fresh. Each step reminds you that you are alive, that you are still a part of this world, moving with it rather than watching from the sidelines. That connection, to your body, to the earth, to the moment, cannot be bought or given by family. It is yours to claim. So what does physical mobility really give you? It gives you freedom. The freedom to live without waiting for someone else to make your day possible. It gives you dignity, the quiet pride of knowing you can still care for yourself. And it gives you confidence, the assurance that you are not defined by your limitations, but by your determination to keep moving. If you feel weak today, start where you are. If you feel stiff, stretch a little more than yesterday. If you fear falling, practice holding a chair and standing tall. Build slowly, gently, but persistently. Because every step you take is more than just exercise. It is a promise to yourself that you will not surrender your independence without a fight. And remember Harold, walking the park every morning with his cane. Remember Lorraine, turning her grief into a daily walk down the street. Remember that mobility is not about perfection. It's about perseverance. It is the foundation that walks beside you, steady and faithful, no matter who else comes or goes. In the end, physical mobility is not just about moving your body. It is about moving through life with courage. It is about saying, I am still here, I am still capable, and I will not stop living while I have the strength to stand. Financial simplicity. There's a certain peace that comes from knowing exactly where your money stands. For many older adults, the late-night worries aren't about health as much as they are about finances. Questions echo in the quiet. Will I outlive my savings? Can I keep paying my bills without bothering my children? What if I suddenly need long-term care? These thoughts creep in and steal sleep, leaving the mind restless. And yet, the solution is not always about having more. Often, it's about needing less, or more precisely, about simplifying what you already have. Financial simplicity is a form of support that too many overlook. People think of money as something external, a set of numbers on a bank statement or checks that come in each month. But in reality, financial clarity is deeply emotional. It gives you steadiness. It quiets that background hum of anxiety that so many seniors live with every day. And most importantly, it's one of the few supports that is entirely within your control. Imagine for a moment the opposite. Complicated finances. Multiple credit cards, old subscriptions you no longer use, bills scattered across different accounts, and investments you barely remember making. Every envelope in the mail feels like a possible storm. Every phone call from an unknown number feels like a threat. It's exhausting. The mess of finances doesn't just weigh on your pocketbook, it weighs on your mind. And as we grow older, mental clarity becomes as important as physical health. I remember my neighbor Lorraine, a 74-year-old widow who once worked as a librarian. After her husband passed away, she told me she felt buried under paperwork. Bills in his name, accounts she didn't recognize, memberships they had never used. Each month was a mountain she dreaded climbing. I used to be afraid to check the mailbox, she confessed. It felt like opening the door to another problem I didn't know how to solve. The stress seeped into her days. She lost sleep. She avoided social events. Her life narrowed down to the worry of money, not the joy of living. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. One day, at the urging of her daughter, Lorraine sat down with a financial counselor at her community center. It wasn't about fancy investments or wealth-building strategies. It was about simplification. Together, they closed extra accounts, canceled unused subscriptions, and set up a single checking account and one credit card. They drew up a clear budget: mortgage, utilities, groceries, healthcare, and a little for leisure. That was it. Nothing hidden, nothing complicated. The change was remarkable. Now, she told me, I open every envelope with a clear head and a calm heart. She even started a small jar on her kitchen counter labeled Freedom Fund. Each week, she put $10 or $20 into it. It wasn't about the amount, it was about reminding herself that she was still in charge. That sense of ownership, of knowing she wasn't at the mercy of confusion, brought her more peace than any large bank balance could have. That's the power of financial simplicity. It isn't about wealth, it's about clarity. And clarity is liberating. Let's be honest. Many seniors grew up in an era when handling money was about survival. Every dollar was stretched, every penny saved. But over the years, as life got busier and technology grew more complex, the financial landscape became tangled. Automatic payments, hidden fees, interest rates, insurance policies, endless advertisements offering deals. What once was simple became cluttered. And clutter, financial or otherwise, creates stress. The truth is, a complicated financial life often makes people feel dependent. They find themselves calling their children for explanations, asking neighbors to read the fine print, or waiting for someone else to manage their bills. This dependence can chip away at dignity. But when your finances are simple, you don't need constant help. You can look at your bank statement and know exactly what's happening. You can pay your bills with confidence. You can make choices without second-guessing yourself. That independence is priceless. There's also a psychological benefit. When finances are messy, they create uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the greatest sources of late-life anxiety. It's the uncertainty that keeps people awake at night, staring at the ceiling, worrying about what if. But when your money is organized and your expenses are clear, uncertainty fades. You can breathe. You can rest. You can plan without panic. That calmness spills into every part of life. I once knew a man named Robert, an 82-year-old retired electrician. He wasn't rich by any measure. He lived in a modest 2-bedroom home and drove an old pickup truck. But Robert's life was serene. Every bill he had was written down on a single sheet of paper he kept by his fridge. He had one bank account, one savings account, and no debt. Every Sunday morning, he sat at his kitchen table with a cup of black coffee and updated his little notebook. Income, expenses, balance. That was his ritual. When I asked him if he ever worried about money, he laughed gently and said, "Why would I? I know where every dollar is. Money isn't running my life. I am." Robert's example shows that peace doesn't come from abundance. It comes from control. And control is something you can create, no matter your income. But how do you begin simplifying finances, especially if the mess has been building for decades? It starts small, just like anything else. First, write down what comes in each month: Social Security, pensions, part-time work, or savings withdrawals. Then, write down what goes out: housing, food, utilities, medications, transportation. See it clearly in one place. That single step can feel like turning on a light in a dark room. Next, remove what you don't need. Cancel the magazine subscriptions you no longer read, the streaming services you don't watch, the credit cards with complicated rewards programs you never use. Combine accounts where possible. Keep one main checking account, one savings account, and one credit card. Too many options create too much confusion. Simplicity creates strength. Finally, create a buffer, a small emergency fund, even if it's just a few $100s. Knowing you have something set aside is like carrying a sturdy walking stick. You may not need it often, but when the path gets rocky, it steadies you. The emotional weight that lifts when finances are simplified is profound. Seniors who embrace this often describe sleeping better, smiling more, and worrying less. They stop dreading the mail. They stop avoiding the phone. They reclaim the mental energy once wasted on worry and put it into living. Into gardening, walking, volunteering, or simply enjoying a quiet cup of tea without the shadow of fear. There's another hidden gift in financial simplicity. It frees relationships. When money is chaotic, it often spills over into family dynamics. Adult children become reluctant advisors, stepping in to help, but sometimes causing tension. Parents feel embarrassed, children feel pressured, and conversations about money turn heavy. But when your finances are simple, you don't need to lean on anyone. You don't have to call your son every time you get a confusing bill. You don't have to ask your daughter to explain bank statements. You can manage on your own. That independence protects your dignity and relieves your loved ones from carrying an unnecessary burden. Of course, financial simplicity doesn't mean denying yourself joy. It doesn't mean living in scarcity or refusing every pleasure. It means living within a framework that feels safe, manageable, and free of chaos. It's about spending on what matters to you and cutting away what doesn't. For one person, that might mean budgeting for a weekly lunch with friends. For another, it might mean setting aside money for travel or hobbies. Simplicity doesn't strip joy, it makes room for it by removing the noise. Think of your finances like a closet. When it's cluttered with clothes you don't wear, shoes you don't need, and boxes you forgot you owned, you feel overwhelmed. You dread opening it. But when it's organized, when everything has its place, you feel lighter. You know exactly what you have and how to use it. Finances are the same. A simplified system lets you see clearly, act confidently, and live peacefully. And the best part is, it's never too late. Whether you're 65 or 95, whether your accounts are many or few, you can always choose clarity over chaos. Each step toward simplification brings a little more calm, a little more control. At the end of the day, financial simplicity is not about money, it's about peace. It's about being able to sit at your kitchen table with a clear mind, to open your mail without fear, to to drift into sleep without worries gnawing at you. It's about reclaiming the energy once lost to anxiety and putting it into living. So ask yourself, is my financial life serving me, or am I serving it? If the answer leans toward the latter, it's time to simplify. Write it down. Clear it out. Make it manageable. Because when your money is simple, your life becomes lighter. And that lightness is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself in your later years. Consistent health routine. There's something powerful about the rhythm of daily life. For many older adults, the most reliable form of support isn't their children, their neighbors, or even their doctor. It's the simple routines they practice every day to keep their bodies and minds steady. A consistent health routine may not sound glamorous, but it is one of the strongest foundations of independence and peace. Think about it. A short morning walk, a glass of water before each meal, gentle stretches while waiting for the coffee to brew, taking your medications at the same time every day. These are not monumental tasks, but when repeated consistently, they create stability. They reassure you, they protect you, and they remind you that you are still capable of caring for yourself. Too often, people wait until something goes wrong before they pay attention to their health. They wait for the diagnosis, the fall, the hospital stay, and then scramble to fix what has already broken. But that approach is like patching a leaky roof during a thunderstorm. It keeps you in crisis mode, always reacting, never truly in control. A consistent health routine flips the story. It puts you in charge, turns health into something proactive, not reactive. I once spoke with Frank, an 81-year-old retired electrician. Every morning at 6 o'clock, Frank follows the same ritual: a cup of green tea, 15 minutes of chair stretches, his morning medications, and a 30-minute walk around the block. He does it rain or shine, warm or cold. To him, it's not about chasing fitness goals or breaking records. It's about telling myself every morning that I still matter, he explained. Those words stayed with me. Frank wasn't trying to prove anything to the world. He was reminding himself of his own worth. His routine was a daily vote of confidence, a way of saying, I take care of me. There's a hidden psychological strength in routine. It reduces anxiety because it removes decision fatigue. Instead of asking, should I exercise today? Should I take my pills now or later? The routine answers for you. You don't need to think. You just do. That predictability creates stability, and stability builds confidence. And confidence, especially in older age, is priceless. It allows you to feel less like a burden and more like the capable person you've always been. Of course, routines look different for everyone. For some, it's walking around the neighborhood each morning. For others, it might be gardening, gentle yoga, or Tai Chi in the park. For some, it's as simple as drinking water at regular intervals, eating balanced meals, and sticking to a sleep schedule. The activity itself matters less than the consistency, because what you repeat daily becomes part of your identity. It shifts you from being someone who tries to be healthy to someone who is healthy. Let's look at the science for a moment. Studies consistently show that older adults who maintain daily health routines, regular movement, hydration, proper nutrition, and timely medication, are less likely to experience falls, less likely to forget critical treatments, and more likely to report higher life satisfaction. Why? Because routines create a safety net. Even on days when energy is low or motivation is weak, the body and mind lean on habit. And habit doesn't ask if you feel like it. It simply carries you forward. Take, for example, medication adherence. Many seniors struggle with remembering pills, especially when prescriptions multiply. But turning it into routine, always taking medications with breakfast, always setting them out the night before, removes the guesswork. It's like building a sturdy path in a foggy forest. Even when things feel unclear, your feet know where to go because they've walked that path every day. I once met Jeanette, a 76-year-old woman living alone in Ohio. She had struggled with high blood pressure and mild arthritis. For years, she admitted, her habits were scattered. Some days she ate well, other days she skipped meals. Some days she exercised, other days she stayed in bed until noon. Her medications were often taken late or forgotten altogether. As a result, she was always anxious, always bracing for the next doctor's warning. But then, with the help of a local senior center, Jeanette built a routine. She set her alarm for the same time every morning. She filled a large glass of water and drank it before her feet touched the ground. She took her medications with breakfast, no exceptions. She walked around her backyard for 10 minutes before sitting down with the newspaper. In the evenings, she stretched gently before bed. It didn't sound extraordinary, but within a few months, her blood pressure stabilized, her sleep improved, and most importantly, her confidence returned. She told me, "It's not just about the habits. It's about finally feeling like I'm steering the ship again." That's the gift of routine. It anchors you. It reminds you that you are not drifting through old age helplessly. You are actively shaping your days. Now, some people resist routines because they think they sound boring. But routine doesn't mean monotony. It means rhythm. Just as music has a steady beat that allows the melody to soar, life has rhythms that allow joy to rise above chaos. When your health is on autopilot, when the basics are handled without stress, you free your energy for things you truly enjoy. Travel, hobbies, family visits, or simply savoring a sunny afternoon on the porch. The beauty of a health routine is that it's entirely personal. For one person, it may mean morning stretches and a brisk walk. For another, it may mean swimming at the YMCA 3 times a week. For someone else, it may simply be drinking 8 glasses of water a day and cooking fresh meals. The specifics don't matter as much as the consistency. Because consistency, not intensity, is what builds lasting strength. Let's be honest, there will be days when energy dips, joints ache, or the weather keeps you inside. That's normal. The key is flexibility. If you can't walk outside, walk around the house. If you can't stretch on the floor, stretch in your chair. If you don't feel like a full meal, at least eat something nourishing. Routines don't require perfection. They require persistence. And persistence is what keeps you moving forward even when life pushes back. One of the most inspiring people I've met was Dolores, an 85-year-old grandmother who swore by her little habits. Every morning, she watered her plants, took a slow walk around the block with her neighbor, and cooked herself oatmeal with fruit. Every afternoon, she did crossword puzzles while sipping chamomile tea. Every evening, she took her medications and stretched before bed. None of these tasks was extraordinary, but together, they built a scaffolding that held her up. At 85, Dolores lived alone, drove herself to church on Sundays, and kept a sparkle in her eyes that made her look 20 years younger. When asked her secret, she simply said, "I don't stop showing up for myself." That phrase, showing up for yourself, captures the essence of a consistent health routine. It's not about pleasing a doctor or meeting someone else's expectations. It's about respecting yourself enough to take small, daily actions that say, "I matter. My well-being matters." There's also something deeply spiritual about routine. When you wake up and care for your body every morning, it becomes a ritual of gratitude. A morning walk can be a prayer of movement. Drinking water can be a reminder of life's simplicity. Stretching can feel like an offering to your future self. These acts are quiet affirmations that even as years accumulate, your body is still worthy of care. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. And in older age, when so much feels uncertain, health, finances, relationships, that kind of consistency becomes priceless. It is the one thing you can count on, the one thing you can control. When your body feels steady, your spirit feels steady. And when your spirit feels steady, life feels less daunting. So, what does a consistent health routine truly give you? It reduces the risk of needing constant assistance. It prevents small issues from becoming crises. It strengthens your confidence and independence. But beyond all that, it gives you peace. Peace in knowing that you are doing your part. Peace in knowing that you don't have to wait for someone else to keep you alive. Peace in knowing that every day, in ways both small and profound, you are still caring for yourself. And if you're wondering how to start, the answer is simple. Start small. Choose one habit. Maybe it's walking for 5 minutes after breakfast. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water before each meal. Maybe it's taking your pills at the same time every day. Whatever it is, let it anchor you. Then, once it becomes second nature, add another. Over time, These little actions weave together into a powerful net of self-care that catches you on hard days and lifts you on good ones. Remember Frank, with his morning tea and stretches. Remember Jeanette, who reclaimed her life through simple structure. Remember Dolores, whose little habits gave her sparkle at 85. Their lives prove that consistency, not perfection, is the true key to health. So tonight, before you go to bed, ask yourself, what is one small action I can repeat tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after that? Then do it. Let that action be your promise to yourself. Because when you build a consistent health routine, you are building more than habits. You are building freedom, stability, and a quiet but powerful form of independence that no one can take away from you. Emotional resilience. There is a strength in the human spirit that no storm can wash away. It is not the kind of strength you see in muscles or in the speed of your step. It is quieter, harder to measure, and yet more powerful than almost anything else. That strength is emotional resilience, the ability to stand tall in the face of grief, loneliness, and even the disappointments that come from those we once thought we could always count on. At 70 or 80, most people have already lived through loss. A spouse may have passed, children may have drifted away, siblings may no longer be around, and friends who once filled the evenings with laughter may now live only in memory. These moments of loss cut deep. They can leave you staring at an empty chair across the table, or at a phone that doesn't ring as often as it used to. The temptation in these moments is to feel abandoned, to let sadness take root and choke out joy. But emotional resilience is what keeps that from happening. It does not erase the pain. It simply teaches you how to hold it without breaking. Many people misunderstand resilience. They think it means being tough, pretending not to feel, putting on a brave face no matter what. But that isn't resilience, that's denial. True resilience is softer but steadier. It allows you to cry, to mourn, to admit when your heart is heavy, and yet still find the courage to move forward the next morning. It says, "This hurts, but I can handle it. I am more than my pain." I once met Eileen, a 77-year-old woman who lost her husband of 50 years. After his passing, she was faced with a silence she had never known. Nights were the hardest. She told me, "I light a candle every evening. Not because I'm religious, but because it reminds me I'm still here. Some nights I cry, some nights I laugh, but every night I tell myself, you made it through today." That small ritual was her way of honoring her grief without letting it swallow her. It gave her a sense of continuity, a reminder that even though her husband was gone, she could still carry herself through. That is resilience. The truth is, emotional resilience is not just about surviving the big tragedies. It's about weathering the small disappointments, too. When your son forgets to call, when a friend moves away, when your body refuses to do what it once could, if every small change crumbles you, life becomes unbearable. But when your emotional core is steady, you can meet those changes with acceptance instead of despair. You may still feel sadness, but you are not ruled by it. You learn that your worth and your joy are not dependent on others showing up the way you wish they would. Psychologists describe resilience as a kind of mental elasticity. Just as a tree bends in the wind instead of snapping, resilient people bend with life storms but do not break. And bending does not mean weakness, it means adaptability. With age comes more storms, but also more chances to practice bending, more chances to prove to yourself that you can survive what once felt impossible. There is also a physiological side to resilience. Studies show that people who practice resilience techniques, such as mindfulness, positive self-talk, and grounding rituals, experience lower blood pressure, stronger immune systems, and better cognitive health. Stress, when left unchecked, eats away at the body. But resilience acts like armor, protecting both the mind and body from being worn down by the weight of worry. Let me tell you about Howard, a man in his early 80s. His life had not been easy. He lost one son to illness, another moved across the country, and his wife had been bedridden for years before she passed. When I asked him how he managed to stay so composed, he said, "I stopped asking, 'Why me?' and started asking, 'What now?'" That shift in perspective, from victimhood to action, was his key. He acknowledged his pain, but he did not let it trap him. Instead, he focused on the present, walking to the park each day, talking to neighbors, volunteering at the library. His emotional resilience allowed him to keep living, not just existing. What makes resilience even more profound is that it can be cultivated. You don't have to be born with it. Every time you face hardship and keep going, you build it like a muscle. Every time you sit with sorrow and let it pass through instead of burying it, you become stronger. And with age, that strength compounds. Many older adults are far more resilient than they realize. They've lived through wars, recessions, family crises, illnesses, and yet here they are, still standing, still breathing, still capable of finding joy. That in itself is evidence of resilience. But what if you feel like you've lost that strength? What if grief or loneliness feels too heavy? The answer lies in small practices. Resilience doesn't require grand gestures. It thrives on tiny rituals that anchor you. Journaling your thoughts for 10 minutes each morning, walking in nature, calling a friend, listening to music that soothes you, and lighting a candle like Eileen did. These acts remind you that you can still shape your days. They turn helplessness into intention. Another important piece of resilience is kindness to yourself. Many older adults grow frustrated with themselves for feeling sad, lonely, or afraid. They believe they should be stronger, braver, or more grateful. But self-criticism only deepens the wound. Resilience grows when you speak to yourself with the same compassion you would offer a dear friend. When you say, "It's okay to feel this. I will get through it." That self-kindness becomes a healing balm. And let us not forget community. Emotional resilience does not always mean handling everything alone. Sometimes it means knowing when to reach out, when to let others hold you up. Whether it's a church group, a senior center, a book club, or even a neighbor across the street, connection strengthens resilience. Sharing your story, listening to others, realizing you are not the only one facing these challenges, it creates solidarity. And solidarity turns loneliness into shared humanity. But perhaps the greatest gift of emotional resilience is freedom. Freedom from being controlled by other people's choices. Freedom from being undone by life's inevitable changes. Freedom from fear of the future. When you are resilient, you carry your peace inside you, and no one, not even time, can take it away. Think of resilience as a quiet friend who walks beside you. It does not erase your struggles, but it whispers, "You are strong enough." It does not shield you from tears, but it dries them afterward. It does not stop the storms, but it teaches you how to dance in the rain. So if you find yourself weighed down by grief, loneliness, or disappointment, know this. You do not have to deny your pain, but you also do not have to be crushed by it. You have already survived so much. That survival is proof of your resilience. Trust it, strengthen it, nurture it. Because resilience is not just a skill, it is a lifeline, one that keeps you steady long after other supports may fall away. In the end, emotional resilience is about more than enduring hardship. It's about living fully despite it. It's about waking up each morning with the quiet conviction that no matter what happens, you will face it with courage. You may bend, but you will not break. And that, more than anything else, is what makes aging not just a process of decline, but a journey of continued strength. Personal code of values. As we move through the later chapters of life, there is one truth that becomes increasingly clear. The world around us changes in ways we can't always control. Children grow older and live their own lives. Friends may move away, or health may take them sooner than expected. The roles we once held, provider, spouse, parent, worker, fade into memory. And when those roles fade, many older adults find themselves asking, who am I now? What defines me, if not the people I care for or the work I once did? The answer lies not outside of us, but within. It lies in a personal code of values, the inner compass that guides us regardless of who is watching, what others expect, or how the world shifts. This code is not about rules written in law books, or the demands of family or society. It is about the quiet principles you choose for yourself. Honesty, kindness, responsibility, forgiveness, simplicity, or dignity. Whatever they may be, they become the foundation of peace and self-respect in older age. When you have a personal code of values, you no longer need the constant approval of others. You don't have to wait for your children to say, "I'm proud of you," or for society to affirm your worth. You already know who you are, because you've chosen it. That knowledge creates freedom, a freedom many people never discover until later in life. I once spoke with Howard, a man in his early 80s. He lived alone in a small house on the edge of town. When asked what kept him grounded, he smiled and said, "I have 5 rules. I speak the truth. I don't waste food. I always return a borrowed thing. I forgive fast. And I sleep with a clear conscience." That was it. 5 rules, nothing more. They weren't written on a plaque or declared to the world, but they shaped every choice he made. And because of them, Howard carried himself with a dignity that no money or family status could buy. That is the beauty of values. They are yours alone, and they need no audience. When you live by them, you walk through life with a sense of calm that no disappointment can erase. Children may neglect to call, friends may forget birthdays, society may overlook the elderly, but if you know you are living true to your code, you remain steady. A personal code also shields you from regret. Many older adults lie awake at night wondering, did I do the right thing? Did I live well? Did I waste my time? But when your life is anchored in values, those questions lose their sting. You may not have been perfect. No one is. But you know that you acted with integrity, that you honored what mattered most to you. That knowledge brings rest. It lets you close your eyes with peace. Let's imagine life without such a code. Without it, the winds of opinion blow you in every direction. One day you try to live by your children's standards, the next day by your neighbors, the next by society's ever-changing expectations. You chase approval, but it always slips away. This leads to insecurity, bitterness, and confusion. But with a personal code, you stop chasing. You stand firm. You know where you stand, and that stability is priceless in the later years. There is a psychological power to this as well. Studies in elder psychology show that seniors who live by a consistent set of personal values report higher life satisfaction, lower anxiety, and even stronger cognitive health. Why? Because clarity reduces chaos. When you already know what matters to you, you don't waste energy debating every choice or regretting every decision. Your values give you a framework, a map to follow, so you can focus on living rather than second-guessing. Let me share another story. Margaret, a 79-year-old retired teacher, told me her personal code was simple. I live with gratitude, I practice patience, and I never speak unkindly about someone behind their back. She admitted she didn't always succeed. Sometimes frustration got the better of her, but those values shaped how she interacted with the world. They guided her during grief, especially after losing her sister. Instead of sinking into bitterness, she leaned on gratitude, remembering the years they shared. Instead of snapping at her children when they were busy, she practiced patience. And when neighbors quarreled, she chose silence over gossip. Those small choices gave her a sense of control and dignity, even when life itself felt uncertain. Your personal code doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be as simple as treating others the way you wish to be treated, or as specific as saying a prayer before meals, keeping promises, or living debt-free. The point isn't the number of rules, it's the consistency with which you honor them. Think about the legacy it leaves. Family may not always acknowledge it, but people notice when you live by values. A grandchild may remember that you always told the truth. A neighbor may remember that you were the one who forgave quickly. A friend may recall your generosity, even when you had little. These values, lived quietly, outlast material possessions. They become the real inheritance you pass on, one of integrity and honor. But perhaps the greatest reward is internal. When you live by your personal code, you carry yourself with self-respect. You don't have to explain your choices to anyone. You don't have to apologize for who you are. And you don't feel rattled when others disagree, because your peace doesn't depend on their approval. It rests in the fact that you've lived true to yourself. Some might wonder, isn't it too late to create a personal code? Absolutely not. Whether you're 65 or 95, it's never too late to decide what matters most. Sit down with a notebook and write a list of principles that feel true to you. Be honest. What do you want your life to stand for? Is it honesty, kindness, simplicity, generosity, curiosity, or faith? Choose them deliberately. Then begin to live by them, one decision at a time. Every day offers another chance to align your actions with your values. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. There is freedom in simplicity here. You don't need a long list of commandments. Even 1 or 2 values, lived consistently, can anchor you. For some, it might be, I always tell the truth. For others, I forgive quickly. For still others, I live with gratitude. Whatever they are, let them be yours. And here's the beautiful part. Your values cannot be taken from you. Family may disappoint, friends may leave, health may falter, but your values remain. They live inside you, steady and faithful. They become your compass when the path is unclear, your armor when life grows harsh, your comfort when you feel alone. I've seen this in the lives of many older adults. A man who chose generosity as his guiding value. He gave small gifts, even when he had little, and in return felt rich in spirit. A woman who valued curiosity. At 82, she was still learning new recipes and reading history books, keeping her mind alive. A veteran who lived by loyalty. He stood by his friends, visited fellow soldiers in nursing homes, and carried himself with quiet pride. Each of them drew strength not from family support or society's approval, but from the values they had chosen. So what does a personal code of values truly give you? It gives you direction when life feels aimless. It gives you peace when others let you down. It gives you dignity when you fear becoming invisible. And it gives you a sense of completion, of knowing that your life has been lived with integrity, no matter the ups and downs. In the end, aging with values is about more than surviving the years. It's about finishing strong. It's about looking in the mirror at 75, 85, or 95 and saying, I lived according to what I believe. I stayed true to myself. That is success. That is peace. That is self-respect. So tonight, ask yourself, what values matter most to me? What principles do I want to guide the rest of my days? Then let those answers shape your choices. Because when you live with a personal code of values, you are never truly lost, never truly alone, and never truly without support. You are anchored, steady, and at peace with yourself. And that kind of support is the strongest there is. As the years move forward, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. Family, friends, even the strength of our own bodies can shift or fade. The safety nets we once counted on don't always hold. Yet that doesn't mean we are left powerless. In fact, the real strength that carries us through life has always lived inside us. Physical mobility, financial simplicity, steady health routines, emotional resilience, and a personal code of values. These are the anchors that remain steady when everything else changes. They are the tools that let us walk with dignity, sleep with peace, and greet each day with quiet confidence. Happiness in later life does not come from waiting for others to provide care or recognition. It grows from within, built on the choices we make, the habits we practice, and the values we refuse to let go of. That is where true freedom lies, not in control over others, but in the power we cultivate inside ourselves. Aging with strength is not about resisting change, but about meeting it with courage and calm. If this message resonates with you, I invite you to share your thoughts below. Tell us which lessons spoke to your heart, or what steps you are ready to take for yourself. Your voice matters here. And if you found value in these words, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone you care about. Together, we can keep building a community of wisdom, encouragement, and hope for every season of life.